Well, you probably saw the news. Impeachment is rolling along in Washington, and now the Judiciary Committee has the case. And we talked yesterday about the brilliant testimony. In fact, I can't urge you strongly enough to listen to it again. The opening statement by law professor and renowned constitutional scholar Jonathan Turley, who is a George Washington University law professor, who really laid out what the facts are about what the Democrats are up to, which is just they're mad. They don't like President Trump. They want to find a reason to get rid of him. And they are cooking up out of nothing a case to impeach the duly elected president. But what's happened today? I want to hit two quick things. One is Nancy Pelosi made her big announcement. She is actually going to pursue formal impeachment. So we have a clip. I sent a clip to the very extremely wonderful producer, Matt Stoker, who just gets my clips ready even when I send them kind of late. So he's got this clip ready, I believe. This is the statement made by Nancy Pelosi this morning, essentially saying, yes, we're going for impeachment.
Over the past few weeks, through the Intelligence Committee working with the Foreign Affairs and Oversight Committees, the American people have heard the testimony of truly patriotic career public servants, distinguished diplomats, and decorated war heroes, some of the president's own appointees. The facts are uncontested. The president abused his power for his own personal political benefit at the expense of our national security by withholding military aid and crucial Oval Office meeting in exchange for an announcement of an investigation into his political rival. Yesterday, at the Judiciary Committee, the American people heard testimony from leading American constitutional scholars who illuminated without a doubt that the president's actions are a profound violation of the public trust. Our democracy is what is at stake. The president leaves us no choice but to act because he is trying to corrupt, once again, the election for his own benefit. Sadly, but with confidence and humility, with allegiance to our founders and a heart full of love for America, today I am asking our chairman to proceed with articles of impeachment.
Okay, there we are. I have to tell you that was such a con job, such an acting job. That woman, Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, has been recognizing she's stuck. She's got to go forward seeking articles of impeachment. She has nowhere to go with it. She is trying, that's an acting job you're watching, trying to act. This is very serious and very solemn, and I'm very sad, and I love America. This is a woman who hates Donald Trump. She hates the idea that her pal Hillary didn't win. She hates the idea that Donald Trump is draining the swamp big time. She hates all of that. And so she tried to make a pious announcement of her own, just I'm so upset and I'm so unhappy and I'm so bothered. Anyway, they're going for impeachment, it does appear. The other piece, so we'll have to go forward. I don't know how much more of a hearing the Judiciary Committee is then going to hold. I mean, they've got whatever the Intelligence Committee came up with, which was nothing, and they have all that testimony, and they have the articles of impeachment that they're going to draw up. I don't know if the Judiciary is even going to need to call any other witnesses, but they are going to draw up articles of impeachment to understand the process. So the committee draws them up. They have to have a committee vote. It'll likely come out along party lines. Democrats have the majority, so they have the majority in the committee, and then the impeachment vote goes to the floor of the House. It is widely believed that this impeachment vote may actually happen before Christmas, that we're going to have this vote in the next several weeks, couple weeks, where the committee draws up the impeachment articles and the committee votes, and then the House votes. And it's also widely believed that or is likely at least, that these impeachment articles are actually going to include references to the Mueller investigation, to the Trump-Russia collusion non-existent hoax. But this is how desperate they are to put as much as they can out there, as much as they can in terms of what they're claiming Trump did, to try to build as strong a case as they can to get it passed on the floor of the House. Now, I know most people are treating the House vote as a foregone conclusion. The Democrats have the majority. They're going to vote for impeachment. I cannot urge every American on both sides of the aisle, every state in this country, to contact your member of Congress and contact your senator ahead of time just to say, Don't you dare. This is so wrong. There's nothing to this. You have to put pressure on the members of Congress to recognize they will pay a steep political price if they vote yes for impeachment. There is no basis for this impeachment. I'm including myself in this. My congressman is a Democrat. And he's saying all along, trying to say, well, I don't know, I'm kind of watching it. He's going to vote for it because he does what Nancy Pelosi tells him. But at least he needs to hear from his constituents that this is wrong. So that's what's happening in the House side. On the Senate side, it was most interesting. I saw that apparently, Chuck Schumer, who is the Democrat minority leader in the Senate, and Mitch McConnell, the Senate majority leader, are talking about the terms of the impeachment trial in the Senate. Now, you remember back to the House side, what happened shortly after the Democrats took control of the House after the 2018 elections, they changed a lot of rules. They changed many rules, including the rules that applied to these hearings we've been watching in the House Intelligence Committee, the House Judiciary Committee. The Democrats in the House made rules that simply protected themselves, gave themselves the ability to ramrod this impeachment through the U.S. House. They made rules that said, essentially, distilled down to plain English, the accused, President Trump, does not have due process rights. He can't call his own witnesses. And for example, even the Judiciary Committee just yesterday, the Republicans got one witness. One. And that was the brilliant testimony of Jonathan Turley. The Democrats had a bunch of experts up there blathering on and on about how this was the most outrageous, constitutional challenge or whatever. They were just on and on. They were just partisan hacks. I'm getting at, though, the House Republicans watched that impeachment hearing in the House with very little ability to in any way impact. They did get to ask questions. They were frequently cut off. They had in the House Intelligence Committee, they had Adam Schiff coaching witnesses, interrupting, just impossibly, not just unprofessional, but biased behavior. And I know, now switching to the Senate side, where if the House impeaches, it goes to the Senate. Switching to the Senate side, I know the Senate tries to fancy itself as a far more, statesmanlike and far more serious, and they're very, a more contemplative body, and they don't act like the Republicans in the House. They don't act like the House does. The Senate, they're trying to convey this, this is like the secret club of all secret clubs, although not secret, the highest echelon club in the country, 100 people in the Senate. And they've always tried to hold themselves out as, we don't behave like the House. We are more, we have a different place in the Constitution, a different role. We're the upper body. There are very few of us. We behave with dignity. I'm telling you, folks, number one, I have no faith at all. Zero, zip, none, nada in Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is the point person for our side. He's the one who should be saying to Chuck Schumer, if we've got to put up with what happened in the House, do not think for a moment that we are going to accept any limitations on what evidence the Senate can hear. We're not going to accept any limitations on who can be called as witnesses, how many witnesses we can call. I mean, the Republicans in the Senate, I'm getting at, I don't want them to be as nasty as the Democrats were in the House, but I want the Republicans in the U.S. Senate, led by Mitch McConnell, to be strong, to recognize this is not just a battle over this idiotic impeachment inquiry. This is a battle over the right of the American people to choose their president. This is not just an attack on President Trump. It's an attack on the idea of the presidency, the role of the president as being the person in charge of foreign policy. It's an attack on the American people who chose President Trump to be their president. It's an assault on our very Constitution itself. That's what's at stake in this impeachment. And I hope that Mitch McConnell is just doing the courtesy check with Chuck Schumer, to say, hey, can we run through a bunch of rules and can we come to agreement? Because I sure would love to have us come to agreement about what rules we're going to have in place to conduct the trial in the Senate, should the House actually vote to impeach. However, I have to say, folks, I have no faith, and I'm sorry to say it, I have no faith at all in Senator Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell was the one rumored, if you don't remember this little tidbit, McConnell is the one rumored to have said to President Trump when he wanted to appoint the brilliant member of Congress, John Ratcliffe, the Republican from Texas, appoint him as the for DNI, and McConnell told him no, won't confirm him. Director of National Intelligence, McConnell said no, he won't confirm him. Other rumors these aren't just rumors like, blathering in street corners. These are highly placed people making these points in Washington. McConnell has stood in Trump's way in a variety of ways. He stood in Trump's way as it relates to the appointment of who is going to be the Director of National Intelligence, wouldn't let him have Ratcliffe. I know also when President Trump would really like to remove Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, and the well-placed rumors were saying, McConnell said, we're not having another confirmation hearing for the head of the FBI. I don't care if, maybe he didn't say, I don't care if Christopher Wray is undermining you, Trump, which he is, but McConnell is, if anything else, a political animal committed to self-preservation. He has done a good job in getting judges confirmed. This is not a dangerous thing for him to do politically. His people want him. His state wants him. The Republican voters in Kentucky want him to get Republican judges appointed to the federal courts. So he's not doing anything brave by actually fighting for that. Not even a tiny bit brave. This standing up for President Trump, putting on a trial in the Senate that actually calls Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and Adam Schiff and the secret whistleblower, that would be a very brave move. It's what has to happen. And I hope and pray that Senator McConnell can find the leadership, find the inner strength, find the backbone to actually stand up for this president, stand up against his impeachment assault, put on a trial in the Senate that actually conveys to the American people, this is what the Democrats did. And you know what? If you're going to have the House sticking in a little bit in the impeachment, articles of impeachment related to the Mueller investigation, it's almost good news. Because then we can get in and talk about in the Senate what happened inside the FBI, what happened inside the DOJ. How do we get to the point that the coup plotters actually got the FISA court to issue warrants to spy on Trump's team? How do we get to the point that we cooked up a complete farce of a Trump-Russia collusion hoax and actually burden the American people with millions of dollars of tax money to investigate this fraud, weeks of hearings, and all we had to do, and all of that because of what the Democrats did, or the leftists did inside the FBI and Department of Justice. So I'm very, it may really backfire on the Democrats if they go through this impeachment, especially and including if they go through the idea of sticking in the impeachment, articles of impeachment in the House, that they want to also comment something about Trump and the whole Mueller investigation. I hope they do. But folks, we are in for a battle. And I got to tell you, the people who preserve this country, you might think it's your congressman or your senator. It's not. It's you. It is the people in this country, the people willing to stand up and say, this is an outrage. It needs to be said. You need to be saying it to your member of Congress, your senator, your neighbors next door, everybody you talk to. This is an outrage. And there was a really funny comment this morning, kind of wrapping up the segment, but there was a really interesting comment. Congressman Al Green, who is from Texas, I'm embarrassed to say, he's a Democrat from Texas. He's the one that's been filing articles of impeachment in the House, since President Trump won. He's the one that was complaining. In fact, he said in an interview that we better take out President Trump now through an impeachment because otherwise he might win his election in 2020. This is really what the Democrats fear. They cannot handle 8 years of President Trump draining the swamp in Washington. So Al Green has now issued another complaint about the House Judiciary's conduct. I'm not even going to go into that. I'm just telling you, folks, it's a really important time to remember this is it's impossible to overstate the importance of this battle we are watching in Washington. It's not just to take out Trump. It is to send the message, the Democrat, and you can even think of it, the uniparty, because some Republicans are not, and most Republicans are not helping President Trump. It is the uniparty standing up and mainly the Democrats, but the Uniparty, to the American people and saying, you will not elect someone that we don't approve of. You will not elect someone who's going to drain our swamp and change Washington. We're in charge here. The ruling class rules, the deep state rules, and you crazy voters out there who picked this guy who is upsetting our apple cart, we're telling you no. This is really the message of the Democrats and the deep state in Washington. You're not allowed to pick someone who we don't like. Enough on impeachment for today.